Okay, for those of you guys joining us on audio or video, please introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Annie Clordy, and I'm with Compass in Newport Beach, California.
And how you been? How is it with COVID-19 living in California?
It's been interesting. I mean, I feel like in Florida, I'm just seeing you guys kind of have more of a crackdown. We're going on week 4. So when it first started, our governor locked us down much more, even as real estate agents. There was about 10 days where we couldn't do anything. We couldn't schedule an inspection. You couldn't even get an appraiser in there if you had a loan going through, anything, an inspection or anything. That's been loosened in that we're considered essential now. So we are, encouraged to do most of our business virtually, but we have been able to, do appraisals or do an inspection, just one person in the house with all the protections at time. So that's really helped because there were some people in limbo, had a lease back and had somebody else moving into their house. So just having that, able to do that is much easier as far as just our clients,
Yeah, I noticed because I have a niece that lives in LA, and even LA isn't Newport Beach, obviously.
Yeah.
LA is nice, but Newport Beach is awesome. And
Yes.
so I've been following up, keeping track of California, and you guys are really, I think you guys have the model that everyone should follow, because it seems like you guys are really, really doing an incredible job there. And
Yeah, I mean, county to county is different too. I know San Francisco is in full lockdown. They actually halted construction yesterday. So
oh wow.
our county hasn't gone that far yet. Residential construction is still going. It's considered essential. But as far as everything else, they closed our boardwalk. We're going on week 2 with no boardwalk. All the parks are closed. Hikes are closed off. State parks, parking lots to even get to a state beach are closed. So they are definitely taking it seriously, which as we all should.
Yeah, definitely. So being in, I guess, lack of a better word, being on lockdown for 4 weeks, how do you keep up your mindset?
The first week, it seemed it was kind of temporary. So it was more business as usual, and we hadn't been locked down yet. The week they locked us down for that, I think it was 10 days. That was a little bit more challenging in that the first day that happened, I had a buyer pull out of escrow. We were signing off contingencies that day. And then a couple days after that, I lost another deal. So anytime that you're putting forth that much work and seeing it crumble is always a little bit harder, no matter, I think, what industry you are, especially just emotionally, right? And going through our business. But, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And I think that every day I just wake up and, trying to keep as much of the same routine as possible, even though you're not necessarily having a routine, wake up, give my kids breakfast. I mean, we're all homeschooling now. So I am lucky in that my husband is also in lockdown. So I have somebody to help me with that. But depending on each of our schedules, we're kind of tag teaming that, but we get the kids up, have them breakfast. They're sitting at the table doing their work by 8. We're doing our work by 8. And I think that's so much of your mindset is just to keep going and have that schedule and time blocking. Cause I think otherwise it would be sad, right? It would be disappointing. You have to keep positive and keep moving forward.
Yeah, I think it's so important what you said, like about structure and having that. It's amazing that you're able to all be ready to start your day at 8. Kids
Yes.
and you guys, that must be tough.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little crazy sometimes with 3 kids, but you have to run a tight ship, so to speak, otherwise I think the wheels would come off the bus.
How old are your kids for people listening?
2nd, 4th, and 6th grade. So almost 8, almost 10, and 12.
And have you ever homeschooled before?
No, I have not. And I don't think being a teacher is really in my future. I think real estate is, after almost 20 years, definitely I'm staying in my lane, except in these times of necessity. But, you know, our school's been really great. They have a virtual program, but my second grader, I mean, she needs a lot more help and hand holding even with virtual school. So that has been challenging, but I feel like on week 4, we've got it down much better than we did.
So that must be pretty difficult, having 3 separate grades and having 1 teacher or 2 teachers to do all. How do you do that? How do you teach one class first and everyone goes through it, or how does that work? What's the process?
Well, I know every county is different in every school, but our school, they have the teachers, but they're online. So not
Okay.
so my kids for each of their class has at least 1 Zoom a day with their teacher, depending on the subject. And then the rest is guided. You know, they have a list of assignments that are emailed out by the teacher every day. So we print them out. And then they have highlighters, and they're just supposed to go onto that online platform and kind of check it off. My daughter does need a little bit more help, maybe with trouble with logins or something like that. But luckily, it seems that our school kind of had it together from the get-go. And so I'm not necessarily totally homeschooling. I'm just a guidance, you know, down that path.
Right.
Yeah.
How's the kids' experience been? Because we always think of like the parents, but
Yes.
what about the kids?
Yes. Well, for us, crazy thing is living what I do. We sold our house about 6 weeks ago and moved into a rental while we remodel. So it's been definitely interesting with all of this. I think my kids have been more resilient than I ever could imagine. If it's funny, I think I'm having a harder problem than my kids a little bit with not necessarily having a home. People are, you know, quarantined in their homes, and I'm kind of in between. I'm in a month-to-month rental while we remodel, and then hoping everybody show up every day. But for my kids, I think that's almost been like, they like it. It's almost like camping. You know, I don't know if they love mom and dad helping guide them through their schooling, but they definitely like us being around more, you know? I mean, from morning till night, they love that. They're doing school with their dog, you know?
Yeah, I think like in a year from now, when things are back to normal, they're back to going to school and doing all that, they're going to miss these days. And I think you will as well, right?
Oh, I definitely do. I mean, I already think it's gotten easier. In the beginning, everything's an adjustment, and now this is kind of the new norm. So you have to adjust to it and make the best out of it, right?
Yeah. So you said at 8 in the morning, you're ready to work. So
it's like 7:45. Yeah, we're ready to go.
So how are you doing business nowadays?
So I am lucky again that my husband is in one of the industries where he's working from home. He's in the alcohol business, so his business is busier, let's say 11 to 3, where real estate, I mean, I'm doing my emails really early, but I'm not getting as many client calls until, you know, a little bit later, or luckily we're able to schedule them, even showings if we've been doing virtual showings. But just honest to God, one day by day, right? Moment by moment, and scheduling. Just trying to know in my mind that from 8 to 12, I try and do the school stuff. And then from 12 on, I'm doing the work.
Okay, so for someone that's not a real estate agent and watching this or listening to this, could you describe what a virtual showing is?
Yes. So luckily, I myself, like you, have been doing video for a long time. I mean, even on my very low end listings, I was doing video at least 4 years ago, very produced videos. So I don't feel like it was as hard. But a virtual showing, I would say, you know, our other videos were a little sexier, kind of zooming in and showing. And this one has been a little bit more, okay, here we walk through, you know, the front door. That would be my produced video, but a virtual showing, it's just me. And so I've been using that Splice. So I'm either uploading it to YouTube, because sometimes Zoom isn't, if you don't have the best video connection at the property, so when you're walking through kind of showing someone. So I've found that if I am doing it ahead of time and doing it into like a Splice and doing it on a YouTube link, it's much better. So it's almost like a virtual showing would be me walking through the home, telling them, you know, opening drawers and kind of guiding it through. So it's
So
about
you
7 minutes.
so you physically go to the property by
Yes.
yourself, you
Yep.
walk through the house with the video, you upload
Yes.
it, and then you watch it with them or something, or
Yes, exactly. I say I'm sending it over to you right now. And I've edited it, right? So I'm cutting it so that it's, again, on YouTube, because you can't do a 7 minute and text it to someone or email it to
right.
them. The quality isn't great. Yes. And then I'm sending it to them that way. Because I was doing a few Zoom kind of showings, but again, if you don't have great internet or at the house or it's cutting out, it's just the quality isn't there.
Right.
So I
So
was doing that right away.
how has the response been from the buyers?
Great. To be honest, great. I mean, I think everyone's adapting. If you
That's
need a
great.
home, you need a home, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And for the people that don't know your area that well, what would you say an average home is like that someone is buying there? You get a call, it's a
Yeah.
typical call you get for a home. What would be like the price and a description of the house?
So I say we work Newport Mesa. So Newport Mesa is Costa Mesa and Newport Beach in California. So the average price point for Newport Beach, I would say our average price point is 2 million, give or take. You find things like around $1 million, but our average is 2 million. My price point is right between like 2 to 5 million, but we also do a lot of work in Costa Mesa, which borders Newport Beach, and that it feeds to the Newport schools, and that price point ranges from 600 to maybe 1.5. So,
And, and what would you get for the 600 and what would you get for the 2 million?
okay, a 600,000, even in Newport Beach or Costa Mesa, is going to be some type of condo with HOA dues probably attached at least on one wall. If you're buying 2 million in Costa Mesa, you're going to probably have at least a quarter acre, maybe a half acre if you're by the country club. Beautiful, probably 3,000 square feet. 2 million in Newport Beach, probably a little bit of a fixer, maybe about 1,800 square feet, and a lot size of about maybe 7 or 8,000.
Cool. So when I think about this and your mindset, and I think about like just how giving you are to have two deals, like just, die because of whatever we're going through, and to be so positive and just be like, keep moving on. I'll be there at 7:45. The typical person that's not in real estate, if they had a job, if they worked for, I'm sure these deals probably took you months of relationships, if not longer. Right.
Months.
So
Mm-hmm.
if they worked for months and months, knowing that they're going to make a typical, whatever they're going to make, and then all of a sudden they got a call that they're not getting paid, the amount of mental toughness for you and most people that are at Compass and in real estate is so remarkably higher, so much
Right.
remarkably higher, because people would just lose it, I think,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. The one that I worked on, the second deal that we fell out, we actually just put it back in escrow yesterday on
Awesome.
a virtual showing. So that's kind of remarkable in itself. It's someone relocating from North Carolina, and we got it back in escrow. But that first day, everybody gets a little bummed. You go, gosh, I worked really hard. But then you really have to say, this is a challenge. What can I do? It does my clients no service if I'm going to be disappointed, because this is their home. They were buying something else. So imagine how upset they were. I mean, they were devastated because they were in escrow and then trying to buy their dream home. So again, you got to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and say, what can I do? Let me pivot, right? What's another idea? Maybe there's a buyer. There's got to be something that we can do. I just think we have to have a lot of grit in our business, as you know, and failure is just not an option most of the times. I mean, or how about this? We fail a lot, but you have to tell yourself you're not going to fail, because if you have that mindset, you're not meant for this business. You have to.
Yeah. I think you're so true about that. We're all going to get sad for losing deals and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I really loved your perspective on it, that if it bothers me this much, this is their life. This
their
is
life.
And
Mm-hmm.
to have that perspective is very difficult for a lot of people. That's great that
Mm-hmm.
you did that. So like, how are you connecting with your database now? How are you connecting with people? your friends,
Um,
family, and just everyone else?
yeah, I've made a goal. I mean, everybody has their own thing about touching on clients or whatever. I mean, I will say that I have been more reaching out to people just to check in on them in general, whether they're friends, family, or clients, because I worry that if you are more of an introvert, I'm more of an extrovert, so it's easier for me, but I worry about my friends and family that are introverts. And my mom, for example, lives on her own and she's high risk and recovering from cancer. So I worry that she's going to get sad and isolated. So I've been just trying to reach out to friends and family every day just to check in on them, you know, try and be motivating a little bit on social. I get through a lot of it on humor. So maybe posting a little bit more things I find are funny. Hopefully, maybe not everybody finds it funny, but everybody usually can stand a laugh and it makes you feel a little bit better. So that's kind of what's getting me through. And a lot of calls. I've been calling people. I like to hear people's voice now, you know, no more texting. I don't want to see your text. I want to hear your voice.
Yeah, it's such a difference, right? A text is sometimes when you get a lot of text, you think, is this like a mass text and you just copied and pasted it,
Right.
or is this just like a genuine text? It's without like actually personalizing it too much in a text. It just seems like the same thing over. And the
Yeah.
common message is we're all in this together. If I
Hmm.
get another one of the we're all in this together, I'm like, okay, I get it. We are. So
Luckily, I haven't gotten many of those texts, but I feel like if I did, I'd say the same thing, right? Yeah. I just, honest to God, I mean, I don't think there's many people, unless you're in the health field, that this hasn't affected. I mean, it's affected them because they're working so hard, but I mean, financially, you know? And so I've just been trying to reach out to my friends and, you know, do little things, you know, just to pick somebody up. It's just hard. I mean, I've had some friends lose their jobs and it's brutal. It's just, this is not fun for most anyone. And so I think as much support as we can offer, or just a kind voice on the other, you know, even leaving a message is a good thing.
You know, it's funny because as I do these interviews, I've probably so far interviewed about, I don't know, 10 or 12 people.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like if you didn't know real estate, you would think a real estate salesperson is going to talk about real estate all the time and that's going
Yeah.
to get them business. But as I speak to you guys more and more, it's like the less you talk about real estate and just by genuinely caring, like not faking it, but genuinely
Oh,
caring,
yeah. Yeah.
like you are, you get so much more business. And you don't, I think the main thing is you don't care if you get it or not. You're just
Yeah.
being kind. And it's it's almost funny that these top agents like yourself are called salespeople. You're just a friendly person that helps guide someone to get what they want, and you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
not
I
you're
mean, who wants to talk about real estate sometimes, though, especially in something like this? You know, I want to hear about, are you surviving the homeschool, or did you open that bottle of wine on a Tuesday night at 5 o'clock with the taco that you were saving? Because you just said, I mean, this has been a doozy. I mean, that's kind of real. That's what's going on in our lives, you know? And then a little bit of real estate too. I mean, people will ask, how you lost a lot of deals, or what deals have you seen go through? Because for as many deals as I've seen not go through or heard, there have been deals going through at amazing prices. Kind of like the stock market, right? I mean, some people see a crash and other people see an opportunity. And I've seen some crazy opportunities that I'm shocked about.
so
Um,
can you share some of them?
yeah, so without going into too much, because a few of
Right,
them
right.
I'm about to close, but I had a client who had been trying to pick up a property for about 6 months. And it's funny, it was an off market, or, you know, a coming soon. And the sellers just weren't ready to take that buyer's price, and they weren't necessarily getting other offers. So I always tell the buyer, okay, just, you'll hear from them, right? So after all of this happened, we got a call from the agent. And agent said, okay, they're willing to take this price. My client said, yeah, no, I'm not ready to take that price. They said, well, this is our bottom line. Well, no, not willing to take that. And this is a trophy property for this area. 2 weeks went by and we're in escrow $650,000 under what they said their bottom price is. And I'm telling you, we are getting it at a price that I think when it goes through, people will say, wow. But listen, the seller was ready to leave out of state and it lined up and my buyer was patient and it worked out, you know. I'm not saying that that was like a fire sale. I don't think we're going to see all these fire sales happening, but I think that if the seller and the buyer are aligned and maybe their time frame and their finances and what needs to happen, you're going to see some incredible opportunities for buyers.
Yeah, I think so too. And you know, sometimes I've got a little pushback from some people that aren't in real estate, and they'll say like, "Oh, these investors are taking advantage of people." And I don't think so, because what they're doing is they're helping people get out of bad situations. And it's like you mentioned about the stock market. When you're buying a stock when it's going down, you don't know how low it's going to go. You're still taking a risk, you know, and you live in a great market, and it will, you know, eventually go up and that'll happen, but they're still taking a risk, you know?
Oh yeah. We all take risks when we're looking at it from an investment point of view, you know? And I even have some buyers that are nervous, right? Am I going to buy this and have the price go down? And we just have to think of it again. This is your home. You're going to live here. If you have at least a 5-year plan, you're going to be fine. You're going to outperform the stock market for the most of the time. You're going to get a tax write-off and you're going to enjoy your memories there. I mean, what I wouldn't do to like be in a home right now and not a rental, it really puts it into perspective, you know? Right. And so we just have to change our way of thinking, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool that you're able to live this journey throughout this time with your sale and
Good
rental.
example.
And yeah, it's so much perspective going forward. So that's great. So my last question to you is, because you're super successful, you're kind, you're funny, you've been good with technology.
Can you tell my kids and my husband all of that?
When you get the files later, you could play it.
Yeah, okay, good. Good, yay.
So what would you recommend to an agent that wants to, what best practice would you give that's made you successful, besides the generic, you know, being kind, being nice and all that? But is there anything that you would say took you from being a good agent to a much, much better or great agent?
Not giving up. I think most anybody, my newest agent, I can say her name here, on Jen, she came to join my team probably about a year ago. And I told her, I said, most people think that this is a hard business, but you never know how hard it is until you get into it. And over the last few months, we've had many conversations about how much she loves it, but how I was right. And even though she knew it'd be hard, it's even harder than most people imagine. So I think you have to, you know, not all the time, but it is hard, right? It's emotional. You give up a lot of your time. I think that the best practices are knowing that it's going to be difficult at times, have thick skin, have perseverance. You have to have perseverance, not take no as an answer sometimes, and know when to take no for an answer, right?
Totally.
And then just be diligent, you know? I mean, you just have to, some days real estate, you know, it's like Groundhog Day. You're showing up and sometimes you don't have anything to do, but you still have to go through the motions. And then sometimes you have a lot to do and you just have to stay positive. And I literally am reminded all the time that this is people's biggest asset, you know, one of them.
Right.
And, you know, we need to be great hand holders. We need to be great listeners. And I think that trying to listen more, I would say a couple years ago, really helped me in my business get to the next spot. Because if you listen, people will tell you what they need from you, and then you can deliver that.
I think that's great. And I think that helps you with your personal life too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Again, tell my husband, just kidding. I like to make jokes. He kills me sometimes. He'll be like, oh my gosh, but no, yes. I mean, especially, look, we're all in this. I know you're married with kids, right? I mean, nothing like a quarantine to make everybody love each other and be patient with each other that much more, hopefully.
Yeah, totally. Well, thanks so much for being on. And if someone wanted to
Yes.
follow you or listen to some of your jokes or
Oh,
learn
well,
about
thanks.
Newport Beach, where
Uh,
do they follow you?
just Annie Clorty. I say Google me. I'm there. But Annie Clorty on Instagram and Annie Clorty Clougherty on Facebook as well. And thank you for doing this. This is just kind of when we're talking. I was so excited, Amit. This is, you get dressed up, you get to talk to someone on Zoom that's equally as professional, and it's kind of just a nice thing to see somebody else's face. So I just wanted to say thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you. Hope to
Thank
see you
you.
soon. Take
Okay.
care.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.